Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's comprehensive lecture on customer value-driven marketing strategy. This is one of the most critical topics in marketing because it focuses on the heart of what marketing is all about, creating and delivering value to customers while building profitable relationships. As marketing experts Don Peppers and Martha Rogers say, the only value your company will ever create is the value that comes from customers, the ones you have now and the ones you will have in the future. Businesses succeed by getting, keeping, and growing customers. Customers are the only reason you build factories, hire employees, schedule meetings, lay fiber optic lines, or engage in any business activity. Without customers, you really don't have a business. Customers today are better educated and informed than even before, and they have the tools to verify companies' claims and seek out superior alternatives. Customers' perceived value represents the difference between the prospective customer's evaluation of all the benefits and all the costs of an offering compared to the perceived alternatives. Total customer benefit is the perceived monetary value of the bundle of economic, functional, and psychological benefits that the customer expects from a given marketing offering because of the product, services, people, and image involved. Consider how Grameenphone customers evaluate their service. They look at the network coverage quality, customer service responsiveness, data speed, and the prestige associated with this brand. The total customer cost represents the perceived bundle of costs consumers expect to incur in evaluating, obtaining, using, and disposing of the given market offering, which includes monetary, time, energy, and psychological costs. When a Bangladeshi consumer chooses between Grameenphone and Robi, they are not just comparing monthly charges. They consider the time spent dealing with customer service, the energy required to understand different packages, and even the psychological cost of potentially making the wrong choice. Customers' perceived value is based on the difference between benefits the customer gets and the cost they assume for different choices. Marketers can increase value by raising economic, functional, or emotional benefits and reducing one or more type of costs. Managers often conduct customers' value analysis to reveal the company's strengths and weaknesses relative to competitors. The steps include identifying major attributes and benefits consumer values, assessing the quantitative importance of different attributes, assessing company and competitor performance on different customer values, examining how customers rate the company against specific competitors on individual attributes, and monitoring customer values over the time. For example, when Walton analyzes their refrigerator market position, they might discover that consumers value energy efficiency most highly, followed by durability, then price, which helps them to focus on their improvement efforts. Some marketers argue this process is too rational, noting that buyers might be under orders to buy at the lowest price. Buyers might retire before realizing long-term costs, or buyers might have personal relationships with particular salespeople. These factors remind us that customer decision-making is not always purely logical. Delivering high customer value requires understanding that consumers have varying degrees of loyalty to specific brands, stores, and companies. Oliver defines loyalty as a deeply held commitment to rebuy or patronize a preferred product or service in the future despite situational influences and marketing efforts having the potential to cause switching behavior. The value proposition consists of the whole cluster of benefits the company promises to deliver, going beyond just the core positioning of the offering. Total customer satisfaction represents a person's feelings of pleasure or disappointment which results from comparing a product's perceived performance to expectations. If performance falls short of expectations, the customer is dissatisfied. If it matches expectations, the customer is satisfied. If it exceeds the expectations, the customer is highly satisfied or delighted. Customer assessments depends on many factors, especially the type of loyalty relationship the customer has with the brand. Bangladeshi consumers often form more favorable perceptions of products from brands they already feel positive about, such as preferring prawn snacks over unknown brands even when trying new flavors. For customer-centered companies, customer satisfaction serves as both a goal and a marketing tool. Companies need to be specially concerned with satisfaction levels today because the internet provides a tool for consumers to quickly spread both the good and bad word of mouth globally. When a customer has a poor experience with bKash customer service, they can instantly share that experience on Facebook, potentially influencing hundreds of friends and family members. Product and service quality significantly impact satisfaction, and quality represents the totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. This customer-centered definition means sellers deliver quality whenever their product or service meets or exceeds customer expectations. Square Pharmaceuticals has built their reputation by consistently delivering medicines that meet or exceed doctor and patient expectations for effectiveness and safety. Product and service quality, customer satisfaction, and company profitability are intimately connected. Higher quality levels result in higher customer satisfaction, which supports higher prices and often lower costs. Studies show a high correlation between relative product quality and company profitability. Maximizing customer lifetime value requires understanding that it is not always the largest consumers who yield the most profit. Large customers can demand considerable service and deep discounts, while smallest customers pay the full price, but transaction costs can reduce profitability. Mid-sized customers who receive good service and pay nearly full price are often most profitable. This is why companies like Grameenphone develop different service tiers for different customer segments. Customer profitability analysis identifies customers who over time generates revenue streams exceeding the company's cost stream for attracting, selling, and serving them. The emphasis is on lifetime revenue and cost streams and not individual transaction profits. Marketers can assess profitability individually by market segment or by market channel. Customer profitability analysis works best with activity-based costing, which identifies real costs associated with serving each customer based on resources that they consume. Companies estimate all revenue from customers, less all costs including not just making and distributing products, but also phone calls, visits, entertainment, gifts, and all company resources serving that customers. Companies failing to measure costs correctly are likely to misallocate the marketing effort. Customer lifetime value describes the net present value of future profits expected over the customer's lifetime purchases. Companies must subtract expected costs of attracting, selling, and servicing the account from the expected revenues and applying appropriate discount rates. For example, a loyal Bata customer who buys shoes regularly for 20 years represents much higher lifetime value than a one-time purchaser. Customer relationship management is the process of carefully managing detailed information about individual customers and all customer touchpoints to maximize loyalty. A customer touchpoint is any occasion when customers encounter the brand and the product, from actual experiences to personal or mass communications to casual observation. Don Peppers and Martha Rogers outline a 4-step framework for one-to-one marketing adaptable to customer relationship management. First, identify prospects and customers. Second, differentiate customers by their needs and value to your company. Third, interact with individual customers to improve knowledge about their needs and build stronger relationships. Fourth, customize products, services, and messages to each customer. Grameenphone exemplifies this idea perfectly by offering different packages for students, professionals, and heavy data users based on their specific usage pattern and needs. Attracting and retaining customers requires companies to spend a considerable amount of time and resources searching for new customers through ads, direct mails, emails, trade shows, and purchased prospect lists. However, attracting new customers is not enough, and companies must also keep them and increase their business. Too many companies suffer from high customer churn or defection. To reduce defection rates, companies must define and measure retention rates, distinguish causes of customer attrition and identify manageable ones, and compare lost customer lifetime value to costs of reducing defection rates. Customer retention dynamics can be understood through the marketing funnel, which identifies the percentage of potential target market at each decision stage, from only aware to highly loyal. By calculating conversion rates between stages, marketers can identify bottlenecks or barriers to building loyal customer franchises. Customer profitability analysis and marketing funnels help marketing managers to manage customer groups varying in loyalty, profitability, and other factors. A key driver of shareholder value is the total customer base value. Winning companies improve this value by reducing customer defection rates, increasing relationship longevity, enhancing growth potential through share of wallet, cross-selling and upselling, making low-profit customers more profitable or either terminating them, and focusing disproportionate effort on high-profit customers. Database marketing involves building, maintaining, and using consumer databases and other databases to contact, transact, and build customer relationships. Many companies confuse customer mailing list with customer databases. Mailing lists simply contain names, addresses, and telephone numbers, while customer databases contain much more information accumulated through transaction, registration information, telephone queries, cookies, and every customer contact. Data warehouses organize collected data where marketers can capture, query, and analyze information to draw inferences about individual customer needs and responses. Through data mining, Marketing statisticians can extract useful information about individuals, trends, and segments using sophisticated statistical and mathematical techniques. Companies can use databases to identify prospects, decide which customers should receive particular news and offers, deepen customer loyalty, reactivate customer purchases, and even avoid serious customer mistakes. Database marketing and CRM face 5 main problems. Some situations are not conducive to database management. Building and maintaining customer databases requires large, well-placed investments in hardware, software, analytical programs, communication links, and skilled staff. Getting everyone in the company to be customer-oriented and use available information can be very difficult. So, not all customers want relationships with companies. The assumption behind CRM may not always hold to be true. Now, we will talk about identifying market segments and targets. A market segment consists of customers who share similar sets of needs and wants. Marketers must identify appropriate numbers and nature of the market segments and decide which one to target. We use two broad variable groups to segment customer markets. Some researchers define segments by looking at descriptive characteristics like geographic, demographic, and psychographic factors, then examine whether these segments exhibit different needs or product responses. Geographic segmentation divides the markets into geographical units such as nations, states, regions, countries, cities, or even neighborhood. Companies can operate in one or few areas or operate everywhere while paying attention to local variations. This allows tailoring marketing programs to local customer group needs in trading areas, neighborhoods, and even individual stores. Pran Foods uses geographic segmentation by offering different product mixes in Dhaka versus rural areas, recognizing different taste preferences and purchasing power levels. Demographic segmentation divides markets on variables such as age, family size, family life cycle, gender, income, occupation, education, religion, race, generation, nationality, and social class. Demographic variables are popular because they are often associated with consumer needs and wants and are easy to measure. Grameenphone segments customers demographically, offering student packages for young people, family packages for households, and business packages for professionals. Behavioral segmentation divides buyers into groups based on their knowledge of attitude toward, use of, or response to products. This might include usage occasions, benefits sought, user status, usage rate, loyalty status, readiness stage, and even attitude toward the product. For example, Coca-Cola Bangladesh segments by usage occasion, offering family-size bottles for home consumption and small bottles for individual consumption on the go. Business markets can be segmented using some market variables like geographic, benefits sought, usage rate, but business marketeers also use other variables which includes company size, industry type, purchasing approach, and even situational factors. Effective segmentation requires 5 key criteria. Firstly, segmentation must be measurable. So the size, purchasing power, and the characteristics can be measured. They need to be also accessible, so segments can be effectively reached and served. They must be differentiable, conceptually distinguishable, and responding differently to different marketing mix elements and programs. They also must be actionable, which means effective programs can be formulated for attracting and serving the segments. Now, as we have known about segmentation, we will talk about brand equity. The American Marketing Association defines brand as a name, term, sign, symbol, or design, or a combination of them, intended to identify the goods or services of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from those of competitors. A brand is a product or service whose dimensions differentiate in some way from other products or services designed to satisfy the same need. And these differences may be functional, rational, or tangible, related to product performance, or they may be much more symbolic, emotional, or intangible in nature. Brands perform critical functions by identifying the source or maker of the products and allow consumers to assign responsibility for performance to particular manufacturers or even distributors. Consumers may evaluate identical products differently depending on how they are branded. In Bangladesh, consumers often perceive Walton refrigerators differently from Samsung refrigerators even when specifications are similar, based on their brand associations and experiences. Brands also perform valuable functions for firms by simplifying product handling and tracing, helping organize inventory and accounting records. Brands offer also legal protection for unique features through registered trademarks, manufacturing processes through patents, and packaging through copyrights and proprietary designs. These intellectual property rights ensure firms can safely invest in brands and reap the benefits of valuable assets. Brand equity represents the benefit endowed on the products and services reflected in how consumers think, feel, and act on respect to brands, as well as in prices, market share, and profitability that brands command. Customer-based brand equity is the differential effect that brand knowledge has on consumers' response to marketing of their specific brand. A brand has positive customer-based brand equity when consumers react much more favorably to products and marketing when the brand is identified than when it is not. Conversely, brands have negative customer-based brand equity if customers react less favorably to marketing activity under the same circumstances. Three key ingredients of customer-based brand equity include brand equity arising from differences in consumer response, differences in response resulting from consumers' brand knowledge encompassing all thoughts, feelings, images, experiences, and beliefs associated with brands, and brand equity being reflected in perceptions, preferences, and behavior related to all marketing aspects. Stronger brands lead to greater revenue. The brand dynamics pyramid shows consumer progression through building levels. Presence represents active familiarity based on past trial, saliency, or knowledge of brand promise. Relevance means the relevance to consumer needs in the right price range or in the consideration set. Performance involves belief that brands deliver acceptable product performance and are on consumer shortlist. Advantage represents belief that brands have emotional or rational advantages over other category brands. The bonding involves rational and emotional attachments to brands to the exclusion of most other brands. For example, many Bangladeshi consumers progress from being aware of prawn to considering it relevant for snacks, to believing it performs well, to preferring it over competitors, to being loyal brand customers. The brand resonance model views brand building as an ascending steps from bottom to top. First, ensure customers identify brands and associate them with specific product classes or needs. Secondly, firms establish brand meaning in consumer minds by strategically linking tangible and intangible brand associations. Third, elicit proper customer responses in terms of brand-related judgment and feelings. Fourth, try to convert the customer's brand response to an intense, active loyalty. Building blocks for branding require reaching the top of the brand pyramid by putting right building blocks in place. Brand salience represents how often and easily customers think of brands under various purchase or consumption situations. Brand performance shows how well products or services meet customers' functional needs. Brand imagery describes extrinsic properties of products or services that includes ways brands attempt to meet the customer's psychological or social need. Brand judgments focus on customers' personal opinions or evaluations. Brand feelings are customers' emotional responses and reactions with respect to brands, while the brand resonance describes the relationships that the customers have with brands and the extent to which they feel in sync with them. So, choosing brand elements requires building as much brand equity as possible. The test is what consumer would think or feel about the product if brand elements were all they know. Based on names alone, consumer might expect any brand's product to be healthy snack foods. There are 6 criteria for choosing brand elements. The first 3 are brand building, which is memorable, which means how easily consumers recall and recognize brand elements. The second one is meaningfulness, which means whether brand elements are credible. And the third one is likable. It means how aesthetically appealing the brand elements are. The last 3 are defensive and help leverage and preserve brand equity. That is transferability, which means can brand elements introduce new products in the same or different categories. The second one is adaptability, which means how adaptable and updatable the brand elements are. And the next one is protectability, which means how legally protectable brand elements are. Internal branding consists of activities and processes that help inform and inspire employees about brands. Holistic marketeers must train and encourage distributors and dealers to serve customers well, as poorly trained dealers can ruin efforts to build strong brand images. Important principles for internal branding include choosing the right moment when turning points provide ideal opportunities to capture employees' attention and imagination, linking internal and external marketing so messages match, and bridging brands alive for employees. Managing brand equity requires understanding that customer responses to marketing activity depend on what they know and remember about brands. So, short-term marketing actions necessarily increase or decrease long-term success of future marketing actions by changing brand knowledge. Brand reinforcement involves marketers consistently conveying brand meaning in terms of what products they represent, what core benefits they supply, what needs they satisfy, how brands make products superior, and which strong, favorable, and unique brand associations should exist in consumer minds. Brand revitalization becomes necessary when marketing environment developments affect brand fortunes. Nevertheless, many brands have managed impressive comebacks in recent years through strategic revitalization efforts. Devising branding strategy, often called brand architecture, reflects the number and nature of both common and distinctive brand elements. Deciding how to brand new products is especially critical. Firms have three main choices: develop new brand elements for new products, apply some existing brand elements, or use combinations of new and existing brand elements. Crafting brand positioning involves designing company offerings and images to occupy distinctive places in the target market minds. The goal is locating brands in customer minds to maximize potential benefit for firms. Good brand positioning helps guide marketing strategy by clarifying brand essence, identifying goals brands help consumers achieve, and showing how they do so uniquely. Positioning requires marketers to define and communicate similarities and differences between their brands and competitors. Deciding on positioning requires determining frames of references by identifying target markets and relevant competition, identifying optimal points of parity and points of difference brand associations given that frame of reference, and creating brand mantras to summarize positioning and brand essence. These brand mantras are designed with internal purposes in mind, while brand slogans are external translations attempting to creatively engage customers. Three key criteria for brand mantras include communicate, which means good brand mantras should define business categories for brands and set brand boundaries while clarifying what's unique about brands. Number two is simplify, which means effective brand mantras should be memorable, short, crisp, and vivid in meaning. And thirdly, it should be inspiring, which means ideally the brand mantra should stake out grounds that's personally meaningful and relevant to as many employees as possible. There are three main ways to convey brand category membership. Firstly, announcing category benefits. Secondly, comparing to exemplars. And thirdly, relying on product descriptors. To build strong brands and avoid commodity traps, marketers must start with beliefs that anything can be differentiated. Competitive advantage represents companies' ability to perform in ways that competitors cannot or will not match. Michael Porter urged companies to build sustainable competitive advantages, though few competitive advantages are truly sustainable. Means of differentiation relate to product and service aspects, but companies can use many other dimensions as well. Employee differentiation involves having better trained employees who provide superior customer service. Channel differentiation, for an example, involves more effectively and efficiently designing distribution channel coverage, expertise, and performance to make the buying easier, more enjoyable, and more rewarding. Image differentiation involves crafting powerful, compelling images appealing to consumers' social and psychological needs. Services differentiation involves designing better and faster delivery systems, providing more effective and efficient solutions to consumers. Expanding total market demand benefits dominant firms most when the total markets expand. If Heinz can convince more people to use ketchup with more meals, or use more ketchup on each occasion, the firm benefits considerably because it already sells almost 2/3 of the country's ketchup. Generally, market leaders should look for new customer or more usage from existing customers. Every product class has potential to attract buyers who are unaware of products or are resisting them because of the price or lack of certain features. Marketers can try to increase amount, level, or frequency of consumptions, sometimes increasing amounts through packaging or product redesign. Larger package sizes increase amounts of products consumers use at one time. Additional opportunities to use brands can be communicated through marketing programs showing appropriateness and advantages of using brands. Companies can also identify completely new and different applications as second approaches to increasing consumption frequency. Defensive marketing aims to reduce attack probability, divert attacks to less threatened areas, or lessen their intensity even when market leaders don't launch offensives. Speed of response can make important defenses to profit. Position defense means occupying the most desirable space in consumers' mind, making brands almost impregnable. Flank defense involves market leaders erecting outposts to weak. Flank defense involves market leaders erecting outposts to protect weak fronts or support possible counterattacks. Preemptive defense represent more aggressive maneuvers involving attacking first, perhaps with guerrilla actions across markets, keeping everyone off balance or achieving broad market envelopment, signaling competitors not to attack. On the other hand, counteroffensive defense involves market leaders meeting attackers frontally and hitting their flanks, or launching pincher movements, forcing attackers to pull back defensively. Mobile defense involves leaders stretching domain over new territories through market broadening and market diversification, shifting companies' focus from current products to underlying generic needs. Given clear opponents and objectives, 5 options which are related to attacks are also available. They are frontal, flank, encirclement, bypass, and guerrilla attacks. Frontal attacks involve attackers matching opponents' products, advertising, prices, and distribution with the principle that sides with greater resources will win. Modified frontal attacks like cutting prices can work if market leaders do not retaliate and competitors convince markets that their products are equal as leaders. Flank attack involves everything that shifts, causing gaps to develop, then rushing to fill the gaps, particularly attractive to challengers with fewer resources. Encirclement attacks attempt capturing wide territory slices by launching grand offensives on several fronts. Bypass attack involves bypassing enemies altogether to attack easier markets through diversifying into unrelated products, new geographical markets, or leapfrogging into new technologies. Market follower strategies appeal to many companies preferring to follow rather than challenge market leaders. Patterns of conscious parallelism are common in capital-intensive, homogeneous product industries like steel, fertilizers, and chemicals, where product differentiation and image differentiation opportunities are low, service quality is comparable, and price sensitivity runs high. 4 broad strategies include counterfeiter, which is duplicating leaders' products and packages and selling on black markets or through disreputable dealers. Cloners, which means emulating leaders' products, names, and packaging with slight variations. Imitator, which means copying some things from leaders but differentiating on packaging, advertising, pricing, or location. And lastly, the adapter, which implies taking leaders' products and adapting or improving them. Market niche strategies offer alternatives to being followers in large markets by being leaders in small markets or niches. Smaller firms normally avoid competing with larger firms by targeting small markets of little or no interest to larger firms. However, even large, profitable firms may choose niching strategies for some business units or companies. Now, we'll talk about product lifecycle marketing briefly. Strategies. Most product lifecycle curves are portrayed are bell-shaped, typically divided into 4 stages. Introduction represents periods of slow sales growth as products are introduced in markets, with profits non-existent because of heavy product introduction expenses. Growth involves periods of rapid market acceptance and substantial profit improvement. When it comes to maturity, it shows slowdowns in sales growth because products have achieved acceptance by most potential buyers, with profits stabilizing or declining because of increased competition. Lastly, we have the decline phase, which shows sales showing downward drift and profits eroding. Thank you so much for listening. We have our next chapter in the upcoming lecture.